So, I'm still having technical issues, as people watching this video can probably tell with the sound quality and the video quality. But today, I am interviewing. Today, we are talking about Risk, me and Lord Morbius. So, is Risk more of a board game than a war game?
Actually, I would say that it is both. Risk is played on a game board that depicts a map of the world divided up into various countries and territories. Players have multiple armies represented by tokens, which were originally made out of wood in the 1959 first edition, but by the 1970s were made from plastics. Each turn they fight battles with the outcome decided by dice rolls. So yes, it's both a board game and a war game.
As you just mentioned, in Risk you use dice to attack and defend. So does that mean it's more luck than strategy?
That's a really good question. The game is predominantly about battlefield strategy, but as any good tactician can tell you, the element of luck is always present. In this case, luck represented by the dice rolls. Even concrete, unbeatable strategies, where victory is pretty much guaranteed, the element of luck can determine if your casualties are heavy or light, which in turn determines how many of your troops you have remaining after the battle to defend your newly captured territory, and if you can retain control over these said territories, or possibly lose them to your enemies in their counterattack. The luck element is the game representation of events that would happen on a real world battlefield that it may affect the actions and how things turn out, such as shortages of supplies, outbreaks of disease among your soldiers, weather complications, and so.
You, as you said, you started playing back when the pieces were wooden, so you probably know the basic strategy that most people use.
Well, people tend to develop their own strategies. Um, the most basic strategy is obviously to secure your first continent as quickly as possible, start building up your armies. Uh, Depending on which continent you secure, the additional resources you get from holding the continents, how many extra armies you accumulate, are piled up. Asia on the map is the largest continent on the standard map and gives you the most resources and armies. However, it can be invaded from 5 different areas, so it's the hardest to hold. My personal preferred strategy is to conquer and hold both North and South America simultaneously, because if you hold both continents, you only have to defend Alaska, Greenland, and Brazil, the 3 points of entry, and it gives you just as many resources as Asia does, but you have less places that you can be attacked from. The only problem with my preferred strategy is when another player ends up with the same idea I have and wants to try the same plan, which leads up to us fighting each other and wearing down our forces while other players build up their armies against both of us at the same time.
So how do you stop other players from getting a continent then? Just luck?
Luck is a big part of it. When you're originally allocating your resources at the start of the game, if there's a place you want them to have to work for to delay them getting their continent and building up their resources, you can put extra forces there to make it harder for them to take over. You can counterattack them each and every turn, but that places a draw on your own resources and reduces the amount of resources available for you to defend your continent with.
Is there any way to there are some people that say this goes on for way too long. Is there any way to make it that not happen?
Any way to make it not happen? Well, the game can last a few hours or up to more than a day in some cases. Most of the games I've played in lasted anywhere from an hour to a few hours. Mismatch games where experienced players compete against new players tend to end very quickly. For obvious reasons, of course. They're not familiar with how the game rules work. But evenly match players tend to go toe to toe and drag things out for extended periods of time. The game is based on strategy, but as mentioned earlier, the dice rolls account for the luck factor, which may or may not be in your favor. If Lady Luck doesn't smile on you, it could be a long night.
Since you've played Risk for multiple decades now, do you have any fond memories you would like to discuss?
Risk was the second war game that I ever played in my youth, with chess being the first. Oddly, it surprised me how many players didn't realize that chess was a war game with two opposing armies and foot soldier pawns, the elite units of knights, bishops, and so forth. But anyway, back in my schoolboy days, we literally made up some house rules, specifically to make the larger battles play out where the attacker and defender would roll one die, high die wins, and defender wins all ties. The loser removes 10 armies at a time. We called it nuking. It did speed up battle, and if Lady Luck wasn't on your side, it could cost you dearly. We also come up with the Fortunes of War, which isn't part of the original rules. This is just a table of events that we would roll on at the beginning of each turn. This would have effects on that would take place in the territories of the game board, regardless of who currently held said territories. Everything from tsunamis hitting East Asia, none of the units there could move or attack, to dust storms in northern Africa, no units can move or attack there either. Outbreaks of viral epidemics in Brazil, occupation forces lose 1 to 3 armies. Blizzard conditions in Greenland, occupation forces, whoever there are, cannot move or attack for 2 turns while digging out, and things like that.
Sounds like you and your friends really enjoyed the game of Risk growing up.
We did. There wasn't really that many board games of that nature at the time. We were schoolboys playing things like, the simple battleship game. Risk was more of a challenge and more exciting, at least at that age.
As my final question of all my interviews, anyone or anything you would like to shout out at this time?
Anyone interested could follow my page, Lord Morbius, on Facebook, where I post news about upcoming games, superhero and sci-fi movies, and the occasional humorous meme. And anybody out there who's not already subscribed to my friend Fjook's channel, please do so now.
Don't comment and like the video while you're doing that, and we will I'll talk to you in the next video, and thank you, Morbius, for joining me.
No problem. Anytime.